Okay, it is 7 o'clock, time to call this meeting to order. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Booth, if you would lead us in tonight's prayer.
Thank you very much. Dear Heavenly Father, in your name we pray that we make decisions for the city of Nelsonville and the people of Nelsonville that reflect their wisdom, temperance, and in Nelsonville's best interest. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Call the roll, ma'am.
Mr. Clement?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Jones? Here. Mr. Duffy?
Here.
Mr. Sherman?
Here.
Mr. Booth?
Here.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from last regular meeting? Any council discussion on this matter?
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Jones? Yes. Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
All right, we're citizens' comment. Miss Leslie Arms is here. If you would, the floor is yours, ma'am.
So my name's Leslie, of course Jeff Arms was my husband. And I am the volunteer race director for the Tunnel of the Towers 5K. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about Tunnel of the Towers, just because nobody around here seems to know about it. But Tunnel of the Towers is a foundation that honors the sacrifice of firefighter Stephen Stiller, who laid down his life to others on September 11, 2001. Tunnel of the Towers also honors the military and first responders who continue to make the supreme sacrifice of life and limb for our country. They build mortgage-free smart homes for the most catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. Each home is designed to address the unique needs of each individual. These homes help the most severely injured veterans and first responders to reclaim their day-to-day independence. And then they also pay off the mortgage for fallen first responders and military who have young children. This foundation picked up my home loan after Jeff passed and completely paid off my home mortgage. So I'm doing this race in honor of Jeff, but then I'm also doing it to give back to this foundation. The race is going to be May 1st, and it's going to take place at the public square here in Nelsonville. There's a lot to it. There's going to be, they want the honor guard, the national anthem. There's going to be a big opening ceremony. It'll last for about 30 minutes before the race. And then this race is also ran solely off of sponsorship. So I've been going around to places trying to get sponsors to be able to support this race and to run it. We're also just trying to recruit participants and any first responders who are interested. They do basically encourage first responders to run the racing gear. So I think that's pretty much the gist of it. If you guys have any questions.
So do you get like sponsored, like, I know some of these races where you get like so much per mile or so much if you finish the race from people that pledge money for you walking or running?
No, this one is not like that. This one is a little bit different because this one is all about honoring first responders. So like the sponsors that I'm looking for, I go to different companies and businesses trying to get them to basically donate money to be able to fund the run. And then the money from the run, from the sponsorships, it'll go to, help us pay for the expenses of the run. And then after that, it goes back to Tunnel to Towers towards their mortgage-free programs in the smart homes.
Nice.
Leslie, how much is a sponsorship? So if anybody's watching that has a business, like, are there different levels?
There are different levels. Look at my level figure. Because basically the way they do it is anybody can be a sponsor or give a donation at any amount. But the tier levels for the sponsorships, it starts at $250. And so it goes anywhere from $250 to $2,500. And for each tier, there's different incentives. So like you can get your logo, the business logo will go on the website, the Facebook page. If it's $1,000 more, it goes on the back of the t-shirts. There will be signage the day of the event that the logos will go on. And then certain ones too, they can get free registration for a couple runners from their business. So, and that just depends on what tier that they go on.
Is the course, is it gonna be like the same course that the Parade of the Hills does, or?
We created a new one with the fire department because.
Thank you. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
Dan's thinking about running in
Dan
this.
is challenged
Dan's been talking about this,
you
and
know,
we
about
really.
running this,
Well,
like,
In that
if
case,
it's-
we start up on top of the hill and.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I've challenged this one and that one there, and this one here is accepted. I think this one here's been crying a little bit.
But no, the way
Go,
the route's
go,
gonna
go.
go is it's gonna start on the square. I guess you could, right there at the light across from where Bruce was, at that corner, basically there, and what is that, the Appalachian?
Oh, yeah, Foundation for Appalachian
Yes.
Ohio.
So it's gonna start there, it's gonna go around the loop, or around the loop around the square, and then it's gonna go down Jefferson, or Washington to Jefferson. And then from Jefferson, it's gonna go Poplar, and then you're gonna go up, what is that, Harper, and then to Walnut, and then down Second, back to Poplar, and then Burroughs Boulevard, and then down Chestnut, and then go back up, like Watkins, and then go on Fayette, and then it's gonna go out on Poplar or Canal Street for a block. And then they're gonna go underneath the archway at Rocky Boot. And then it's gonna go Columbus Street, back around to Washington, and it's Stewart's Opera House on the square.
Nice.
So we were trying to make no hills,
Yes, we appreciate it.
especially with firefighters and if they run it in gear. So that was my goal with it, was no hills.
Okay.
Is there a website or anything where sponsors can go to get more information?
There is, you can go to, it's t2trun.org. And then once you go to that website, you can click on the Nelsonville, Ohio run. And then it'll go through and it'll give you information about the run. And then if you go to the bottom, you can, if you want, someone wants to be a sponsor, if they go to the bottom, they'll see a fundraiser that says event sponsors in general. If you click on that, you can do an online sponsorship and it'll take it directly to the race.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And what did the participants get?
The participants, there will be awards given. The awards have not been completely finalized yet, but there will be, it's more geared towards first responders. So like there will be awards for, you know, like the fastest, police, military, fire, EMS. And then there will also be some generalized awards as well. But we haven't fully finalized all the awards of what we're gonna have, but there will be awards.
Anybody can run in it, they don't
Yes.
have to get funded.
Yeah, it is for anybody in the public. They can register online, they can run in it. The cost for a average adult is $30. If it's a first responder, it's $25. And then from there, it goes down to, I think it's children 13 to 17 are 15, children 12 and under are 10.
The military is how much?
Military, 25.
You gonna let Drake run the kids group?
Drake's already registered. He was the
12
first one to
and
register.
12 and under, okay.
So you can walk it too.
Yes, you can walk it. We actually, the way we put it out to people, honestly, is we prefer people to walk it. You know, especially if you're someone who gets exhaustion easily. But yes, we prefer people to walk it instead of run it.
Is there a time limit? Does it stop like when the sun goes
No,
down?
they're not. Like a marathon, you have to be done in 4 hours.
Just be happy if I finish.
All right.
What time of year would you need?
It is May 1st.
Okay, so it won't be too hot yet, shouldn't it?
No, it won't be too hot yet, but it'll be May 1st. Registration will open at 8 a.m. And then the opening ceremony will start at 9. And then the race will start directly after the ceremony, which will probably be around 9:30.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Yes, it's nice to see you guys.
All right. Okay, Mr. Rob Ryan, you're up.
Well, thank you. I have some handouts here, but I think I only have 7 copies.
Okay.
That's all right.
And I have, prior to the meeting, I came up with some other items that I want the council to contemplate, maybe before the next meeting.
Okay.
But there are things that I've noticed, and two of them are concerns and one of them's kind of a complaint. But anyhow, my name's Robert Ryan. I moved here 2 years ago, just around Christmas time, 108 Jefferson Street. And I went to school here in 1978 to 80, Hocking Tech, it was called back then, natural resources, and was very lucky. Right when I was graduating, they had people come in and talk about jobs, you know. So I raised my hand, the guy from natural resources, the USDA came in and talked. I said, "Did you hire anybody?" So he said, "Call this number." I got hired part-time to work on the Chansey dog pile reclamation. And I did a good job, so they put me on permanent, June of 1980. And I was very fortunate to have a good job with the government that worked with the USDA, worked with farmers in Athens County, Benton County, Jackson County, Hocking County, Meigs County, several counties, but the majority of Athens, Jackson, Benton, Meigs. Anyhow, I really enjoyed living here back then. And Hocking College at that time had one of the most sought after programs of natural resources in the United States. And some of the best instructors in the United States. But unfortunately, since then, they've left and the program isn't as strong as it used to be, which is unfortunate, but it's hard to get good instructors in natural resources at the pay Hocking College can pay. Anyhow, I've got handouts here, and my discussion is on a grant proposal that I'm going to submit once council gives its blessing. And I we can pass these around. And after praying the hills, I was at the Starbucks coffee shop, and Kate Carter walks every day, and she sat down and we said, "You know, the square needs some pizzazz. You know, it's just kind of bland." So if you look at what they have in Logan, in Athens, they have flowers on all the light posts. And that's one item that's in the proposal. The other item was addressing the flower beds, which very few of them have flowers. Most of them have that crappy brown mulch. You plant flowers unless people take care of them every day, the cats and the kids rip them out. So my thought was that I know a source in Fairfield County, Hocking County, where the glacier stopped, dumped off these big boulders like they have the closure flower bed, you know, big. And they're pretty. Put some of those, a couple in each one, and the kids can draw on them with chalk. They're too heavy to people to steal. You can't pick them up. One man can't pick them up. Or cut sandstone pieces. And I have that all itemized on the cost. And the cost, I have to tell you, that was done around the first of the year, you know, fall. So I'm gonna have to increase that a little bit, because as you know, everything is going up. So that's my proposal, and I'm hoping to get it okayed by the council so I can submit it to places that give out grants such as these to get it funded and get the flower hanging baskets and the flowers by May, or around the first week of May. And the only issue I'm having, and I'm hoping you might have some help from council, is the money has to be funneled to a nonprofit. And every year I have to buy new flowers. So all the businesses around the square I've talked to are willing to donate money to get flowers every year. However, we gotta have an account to deposit the money. So I called the CPA, I talked to Steve at the bank, and set up a nonprofit. So I called a CPA. He said, for a grant this small, the amount of paperwork and the cost, he said it would be best to piggyback with an existing nonprofit that's around Nelsonville. So that's what I'm trying to do. So if you do it privately, you know you're gonna have to deal with taxes. So anyhow, I'm gonna submit the proposal, and I've been talking with Mike Brooks about it, and they're gonna be the first one I mail it to. Cause he seems positive about them partially funding or funding the whole thing. And it's not that big a grant, as grants go. But there will be an annual cost for the flowers. And the watering part, as you see, I've got the okay from Stewart's to put the watering thing back in that cubby hole between the Stewart's Opera House and the house next door. And there's a water spigot right there. And I forgot to put the wagon on there because, you know, who wants to carry around a backpack full of water? You carry a whole wagon around and spray. And they make pump sprayers or battery operated sprayers. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So if there have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. And once I get an okie dokie from you, I'm going to submit it to, like I said, Rocky Bruce and other wildlife organizations and hunting organizations. They all give grants such as these. And I just pulled up this paper, and it was from last week's Messenger. Coolville receives grant to beautify and strengthen the community. And it's similar, I didn't read what they're actually going to do, flowers or whatever, but it's kind of the same idea. And there's only like a $3,000 grant, but they said they have a nonprofit set up. You know, maybe I could see how they did theirs, but I didn't realize it'd be costly or so much paperwork to establish a nonprofit. So, are there any questions or comments?
Have you talked to Nan Schaefer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nan and I did the flowers and the weeding once or twice last summer, and we did the tree trimming last year. And then this year, we had a list of trees, but the code enforcement sent out notices, the landowners had to take care of that. Which is similar to the sidewalk issue we're having now with the snow. But I got an idea for that, but we won't go that. Anyhow, I'm gonna give this to the city manager because these are the items of my, I call them items of concern. And then the one's kind of a complaint, but you get this all the time. And then maybe next council meeting, I'll check and see if you might go discuss it.
Okay.
And that's in pencil, I just did it. The other night, stuff comes to my head, and you gotta write it down right then. And I used to, where I worked, that's all I did. Before they had computerized drawings, I just hand drafting. So I like to print. And if that's all,
All right.
the questions I can,
Did you already talk to a nonprofit?
not to, someone suggested Stewart's might be willing to do it, but I haven't talked to them. And then the other night, they had the community meals on Thursday, and the preacher from the church, which comes all the time. And he said, well, there's a guy to talk to. And I never thought trying around to the church, I don't know, it might be possible. But I don't know other nonprofits that exist in Nelsonville, you know, kind of a loss besides those entities. But the place on the corner where the People's Bank used to be, might be able to help out too with the suggestion. Because they do grants there. And I didn't get this done in time because they had one just for Athens County in October. But I didn't have this all done yet.
Well, they only do grants for nonprofits.
Right, but I could.
You have a nonprofit first before you do grants.
Right,
I think Stewart's probably a good place to start anyway.
yeah, and I've been talking with them on other things about the store.
Good.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
But I like your idea, because both my uncles are firefighters. So, you know.
Any other citizens' comments?
Didn't we have an email comment as well?
There's an extra copy, it's when we went for it.
Yep.
There, somebody can take it.
So you're talking about for the asphalt?
Yeah.
We
We did address that in.
You did. Okay. All right, so let's go to committee discussion. We had a Parks and Rec committee meeting, discussed the putting out for the pool manager, putting out notes for the pool manager, for the recreation committee, I'm sorry, for the recreation committee board, correct? The dog park board, the summer baseball league coordinator. Anything on this?
Baseball. Softball.
Baseball and softball, yes. We are allotting, gonna allot $2,000 for the junior high baseball. We have to bring that in ordinance and bring it through. That's all right. So that's all we had there. Anyone else? We had a police and fire
We had
committee
a
meeting
police and
too.
fire meeting. We discussed the security system proposal for the city building, camera proposals as well, which I don't think we're gonna move forward with at this point anyway. And then a website where folks can view and pay their mayor's court fines and such online. Right now, we don't have the capability to take credit or debit card, so that will give us capability there at a good price. I think that's all we had.
Yeah, we had a street committee meeting. We discussed potentially eliminating some stoplights. Scott's gonna look at, the study, if a study has to be done on that. Street paving for this year, we discussed that. And looking at a 5-year capital improvement infrastructure plan. And see if we can get that up off the ground and refine everything. That's it.
We had a finance meeting, to discuss, both the police and fire and the Parks and Rec, monies. And the city manager was gonna hopefully talk to, the auditor about where to draw those funds from.
We, actually, all but the one we were able to find in-house. So other than the one for the softball, I screwed that one out, but all the rest of them, baseball. All the rest of them we were able to find, in the budget.
Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you too.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
I know, right? Sorry. Any other committee meetings?
We did have a utility meeting. Mr. Frank, help me out, because I can't remember.
so we talked about, water lines.
That's water lines.
So good news, but we're submitting for a $5 million grant. Half of that will be loan, half of that, which is 0% loan, EPA loan, and the other half will be grant. And that'll be replacing the next set of water lines. That'll also be replacing more fire hydrants, and that'll be adding the mechanical equipment to our 2 reservoirs in town, and then also our 2 clarifiers at the plant to provide a mechanical means for removing TTHMs to help with the TTHM issue, which isn't really an issue at the moment. We actually got our results for last quarter. 0.8 is the threshold, and we actually had a 0.4 to 0.2, so we're doing very well. There's some more to that, but I can talk about that in the report. And but that's where we're at. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I had a,
Just family kidding. Oh my God. And we forgot to talk about the electric rates, but we can get that
we
next
can
week.
get that next week for sure.
We need to have a planning and development committee, and I think that's just you and me.
Okay.
Now, do you have any sports things going on right now?
This week I'm good. Next week it gets hairy, but this week it's good.
Okay, how about Wednesday? Would you do
Wednesday's
Wednesday? Scott, could you do
Yep.
Wednesday?
Like, 6:30.
6:30? It's fine. Is that good? Okay, I'll send Dan an email and ask him to announce it, so 6:30 on Wednesday. Plan is to discuss, some Airbnb potential regulation.
I had something else, but I'm losing it right now. I'll text it to you later,
Okay.
so as I remember.
That's fine.
All right.
Right.
Anyone else? Okay, department updates. Who do we have tonight? Mr. Barber, you have the floor.
we announced that we have our year-end report given the council by this council meeting. All council members do have a copy of the year-end report in front of them. I will also have it on our own fire department Facebook page. Right after this meeting, we were trying to proofread and do a couple of things on that right before the meeting. So that's why you have a printed copy in front of you. So to keep the meeting short, I won't go through the year-end report unless anybody has questions. I know some of you have been looking at it. So I'll just go on with my update. Right now, I currently have a couple of grants in the queue. I've got the grant that I had awarded through the fire department last year, right at the end of the year for replacement fire suppression and attack hose. We're still working on, the grant was awarded. I've got the grant at around $43,000 awarded. We're still working on some numbers right now. They are changing the fire hose prices quarterly now, and it's getting really hard to keep track of it, keep up with it. So obviously, from the time that the grant was awarded until the time our new budget rolled around, of course, those numbers have changed. So now I'm working with that company to get that stuff solidified before I place the order. Just submitted the 2022 Fire Marshal's Equipment Grant last week. That's for replacement RIP packs, which are basically, for lack of better terms, are rescue SCBA kits that firefighters utilize to do firefighter rescue on emergency scenes. So if something happens inside of a fire, we have that equipment and a specialized team to go in and take care of those firefighters. As we're talking about grants, I'd like to just update the award of these grants brings the award level through the fire department and grants since 2014 at approximately $500,000 now. Well, that's money that doesn't have to come out of the city's budget for equipment and stuff that we buy and supplies. Wednesday the 16th at 5:30 is the makeup candidate civil service test for the fire department. You remember that's a makeup date because of COVID. We had some members that could not participate due to COVID. We anticipate 6 seats during the test. Right now, I currently have 4 open part-time positions. So we're hoping to get those covered for now. We have 1 firefighter in the EMT class and 1 firefighter that will be setting for their national registry on March 15th. So hopefully we'll get 2 more EMT certified firefighters. So the bunker gear that was ordered at the end of 2021, I believe that was ordered right before October, the end of October. The reason why we ordered it kind of quickly at the end of the year because November 1 was going to be another price change for bunker gear. Currently, it's about $2,500 for pants and coat. And that price has now went up to about $3,400. I'm still getting the figures. The manufacturers are really backed up the supplies right now. We still have receiver gear. So the bunker gear that I ordered to coincide with my replacement schedule I set up for the next 5 years, we still haven't received yet from last year. So every year at a capital improvement, I will make purchases of bunker gear to keep our gear current, because as most of you know, the gear that we wear has a 10-year lifespan. So after 10 years, it has to come out of service. Speaking of capital improvement, the command vehicle for the fire department, 2022 marks the last payment for that truck. For those that don't remember, that vehicle replaced the command vehicle that we had in the department before that actually had a catastrophic engine failure en route to a emergency call. So that replaced that vehicle. Their frontline truck, which is 2051, I believe we're at the halfway mark. I think we have 5 years in the payment on that. That's a 10-year loan. The reason why I bring that up is 10-year is also the lifespan of a frontline engine for ISO and NFPA. So we get better rates, and the age of our fleet directly affects the insurance rates for the community that we protect. So we really need to start looking into a replacement plan on apparatus. Like I said, we've got 5 years left on this truck. Then that truck should move to, within this time frame, to a backup truck, and a truck that we order should replace that one. We're keeping up with maintenance, but it is a lot at times. And the trucks that we have that are our backup trucks, it's getting harder to depend on them when we have certain situations. So I can, probably by next council meeting, Actually, what I'll do is I'll submit a apparatus schedule for replacement schedule to Scott. Have him look at it, and then I'll just have it brought to police and fire committee. Just do it that way. With all the snow, we've had a lot of members digging out around hydrants, make sure hydrants are clear. And you might see a lot of crew members out at times during different hours on the shifts, changing adapters out on the hydrants. Those are they're called storage connections. They're basically an adapter that allows us to connect the big, large diameter hose that we have for our trucks rapidly to the fire hydrants. So those are aluminum. They're not worth anything for scrap, but they are worth something for the fire department and safety of the community. So hopefully we don't have a problem with those walking off. They're not because they don't walk. But like I said, you can't, I don't want to put this out there too. You can't take fire department equipment or appliances to a scrapyard and scrap it. It is flagged and people get a lot of trouble for that. I want to throw that out there because we haven't had it come up missing yet, but I do anticipate something like that happening in the future.
What is our ISO rating right now?
We're 4. So the first time in 20 years, our ISO number has changed. We went from a 5 to a 4. It is a 105.5 point rating system that they go off of. And I know that they don't publish the numbers anymore. It used to be, you could go online and you can see what a certain area's ISO number was.
It's 4 out of 10, correct?
It's 4 out of 10. It is 2.34 points from a class 3 right now, which is, I hate to say, I mean, there's no other way to say it, but it's awesome for a community our size and a department our size with the equipment that we have. And a lot of that has to do with the training that's logged, the training that's logged daily, the training that's logged per year, and the certification levels that we keep up. Like I said, a lot of this is on the year-end report. If anybody has any questions from this or the year-end report that they've seen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions for Mr. Barber? All right. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Cohen, the floor is yours.
I'm gonna be quick. First one, the elephant in the corner, potholes.
Yeah.
We got cold patch today, where we started potholes tomorrow morning.
Yeah, if you're texting and driving, you'll find the potholes.
You will.
There's a couple of rough ones out there on Canal Street.
Is that how you're supposed to report them though?
Yes, yes.
We're just don't try. Our plan is to start on Canal Street and work our way.
What, are you gonna be using concrete on that, or?
We're using cold patch right now.
Oh, okay. We're gonna replace some concrete, right? Those patches.
Don't need to, because we had that grant coming up. If it holds in the patches, then we're not gonna pull it out.
I don't think cold patch.
Well, we're gonna go with what we can right now. We got just under 13 tons today. Start putting that out. I don't think it'll take us long to get through 13 tons, because bad as the roads are. But winter's been rough on us too. We used a large amount of salt. Make sure the roads are clean. Water project's a little bit behind because of weather. They're doing tie-ins out on 691 in Kimberly. Afterwards. Hopefully, in another month, they should be pretty close to being done with that. The meter project, it's going. It's been slow because of the weather, the snow. Most of the meter pits are between the curb and the sidewalk. Hard to find them.
Well, probably full of water. Probably.
Well, it's hard to find them because they're buried in snow. The sewer plant, it's looking like they're gonna push it off roughly another month. On completion date, it's gonna push to December now. They're having a hard time getting some things, supply chains, like we talked about, like Harry was talking about. Supply chains just going crazy right now, and it's hard to get things. That's all I got. I was just gonna touch on the lights. That we're gonna change the flashing. The guy should be here tomorrow. He's gonna go ahead and change them to flashing. They'll still be there where we can put them back to lights if need be. Chestnut and Road Boulevard Chestnut's gonna be flashing red and Bird Boulevard's gonna be flashing yellow. And then on the square, Washington Street will be flashing yellow, Fourth Street and the square will be flashing.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Cohen?
Is
Okay,
there, can we, why are we doing this?
Because it's no different on that side of the square than it is on the other side of the square.
But why Chestnut and Borough Boulevard?
Because it backs up when people,
on the canal.
when the light's red
Yeah.
and canal changes green, people can't turn because there's a line of cars.
Because my only concern is,
People not obeying.
well, yeah, especially, flying down that hill and,
Chief Fitch told us once we do it, they'll randomly set cruisers down there.
okay.
Keep an eye on
The
things.
word will
If
get
people
out.
see cruisers, they pay more attention.
How long do we anticipate doing this?
Well, until there's a study done, or if we find out if we don't have to do a study, probably for a couple months.
Get people accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Slow change,
No consensus.
not my style, but
Yeah.
Oh,
I've never noticed it.
No.
we'll do it.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it. All right, we're moving on to second reading first. We're going to make a motion to amend the agenda. Ordinance 808-22 has the wrong header on it. If you look at ordinance 8-22, there actually is a different header. It's just a typo. That's all. And to add, to change the ordinance 8-22 to an ordinance accepting a $3,000 pass-through donation from the Baird Stewart Foundation to upgrade the cameras at the public square, and thanking the Baird Stewart Foundation for their generosity, and authorizing the city auditor to pay for the camera upgrades with the pass-through funds. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Jones,
yes.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Clement,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
All right. Ordinance 04-22, it's on second reading. Yep.
An ordinance establishing guidelines for unclaimed funds and declaring it an emergency.
Okay, any council discussion on this matter? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Clement,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 05-22, it's on second reading.
an ordinance authorizing the city manager, city law director, and city auditor to undertake any actions necessary to bring the former Betty Johnson trust monies onto the books and to use said monies for general expenses.
Okay. Any council discussion on this matter? Okay. Motion to adopt?
I'll move.
Second.
Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Clement,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes. All right. Ordinance 06-22, it's on second reading.
an ordinance amending ordinance 55-18 after hours call out fee provision.
Okay, any council discussion on this matter? All right, motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Clement,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
All right. Ordinance 08-22, it's on second reading.
an ordinance accepting a $3,000 pass-through donation from the Baird Foundation to upgrade the cameras at the public square, and thanking the Baird Foundation for their generosity and authorizing the city auditor to pay for the camera upgrades with the pass-through funds.
Okay, any council discussion on this matter? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
I will second.
Thank you.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Steve?
Yes.
All right. Where was the first readings? Ordinance 11-22. I need someone to introduce it, please. I'll introduce it. Thank you, Dan.
Welcome, Mike.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and enter into an Ohio EPA water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the city of Nelsonville for construction of the Phase 2 water system improvements project and designating a dedicated payment source for loan financing. Whereas the city of Nelsonville seeks to construct the Phase 2 water system improvement project, and whereas the city of Nelsonville intends to apply for Ohio EPA water supply revolving loan account financing for the project, and whereas the Ohio EPA requires the government authority to pass legislation to apply for loan funding and the execution of an agreement, as well as designating a dedicated payment source for loan financing. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Nelsonville, Ohio, it is necessary to complete the Phase 2 water system improvement project for the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city of Nelsonville. It is necessary to apply for construction financing from the Ohio EPA water supply revolving loan account. The city manager of the city of Nelsonville be and is hereby authorized to request from the Ohio EPA water supply revolving loan account the financing required to complete the construction of the project. The method of repayment of loan financing from the Ohio EPA water supply revolving loan account shall be water revenues generated from Nelsonville water customers. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage. Duly enacted by council, it should be the 28th day of February, 2022.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, we are to ordinance 12-22. We need someone to introduce it, please.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and enter into an Ohio EPA water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the city of Nelsonville for construction of Phase 3 regional collection system improvement project and designating a dedicated repayment source for any loan funds that may be required. Whereas the city of Nelsonville seeks to complete construction of the Phase 3 regional collection system improvement project, and whereas the city of Nelsonville intends to apply for Ohio EPA water pollution control loan fund financing for the financing needed for the construction of the project, and whereas the Ohio EPA requires the government authority to pass legislation for application of loans and the execution of agreements, as well as designating dedicated repayment sources. Now therefore be ordained by the council of the city of Nelsonville, Ohio. It is necessary to complete construction of the Phase 3 regional collect system that water improvement project for the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city of Nelsonville. It is necessary to apply for construction financing from the Ohio EPA Water Pollution Control Loan Fund. The city manager of the city of Nelsonville be and is hereby authorized to request from the Ohio EPA Water Pollution Control Loan Fund the financing required for the construction of the project. The method of repayment of any loan funded from the Ohio EPA Water Pollution Control Loan Fund shall be wastewater revenues generated from Nelsonville wastewater customers. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect at the earliest date provided by law, duly enacted by council on second reading, 28th day of February, 2022.
Okay. Wow. Somebody else did their something on this next one. This is his hardware tool right here.
Good thing Becky's not here to.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
That's something else.
Make her read it, just a little.
Just a little one.
Get ready. Just relax. Have a
Have a cigarette. Small game. All right, ordinance 13-22. Need someone to introduce it, please?
that one, no way.
Oh, there it is.
Of course you will.
Did you introduce
Dan
that?
did.
Dan did? Oh, okay.
That way you know whose house to throw eggs out there.
An ordinance pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07, declaring 629 Walnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 319 Oak Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 339 Elizabeth Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 823 Walnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 518 West High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 902 Chestnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 12 Robbins Road, Nelsonville, Ohio, 611 Patton Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 234 West Washington Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 230 Madison Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 426 Pleasant View Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 840 High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 235 St. John Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 253 Myers Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 633 West Washington Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 60 Terrace Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 525 Patton Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 473 Poplar Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 773 High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 219 Frank Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 744 Chestnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, 855 High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, and 240 West Washington Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because they are dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, ordering the buildings raised and declaring an emergency. Whereas Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 provides that when City Council determines a building is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, or otherwise unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair the building, it may be declared the building a public nuisance and have it raised or removed. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Nelsonville, Athens County, Ohio, that the City of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code 9.15.01.07, declares 629 Walnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The City of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07, declares 319 Oak Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The City of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code 9.15.01.07, declares 339 Elizabeth Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The City of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07, declares 823 Walnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The City of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07, declares 518 West High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The City of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07, declares 902 Chestnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair and hereby orders the building raised and removed.
The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code 9.15.01.07 declares 12 Robbins Road, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 611 Patton Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code 9.15.01.07 declares 234 West Washington Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 230 Madison Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 426 Pleasant View Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 840 High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 235 St. John Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code 9.15.01.07 declares 253 Meyer Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 633 West Washington Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 60 Terrace Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code 9.15.01.07 declares 525 Patton Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01.07 declares 473 Poplar Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville pursuant to Nelsonville City Code Section 9.15.01 2021.07, declares 773 High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code, section 9.15.01.07, declares 219 Frank Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code, section 9.15.01.07, declares 774 Chestnut Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code, section 9.15.01.07, declares 855 High Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. The city of Nelsonville, pursuant to Nelsonville City Code, section 9.15.01.07, declares 240 West Washington Street, Nelsonville, Ohio, a public nuisance because it is dilapidated, dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and unfit for human habitation, and it is unreasonable to repair, and hereby orders the building raised and removed. This ordinance is being passed as an emergency measure pursuant to ORC 731.30 because the immediate passage of the ordinance is necessary because the buildings are in danger of causing damage to adjacent properties, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its adoption. Duly enacted by council on first reading and suspension of the rules the 14th day of February 2022.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. She's gonna wake up in the middle of the night screaming raised and removed. You'll start dying on your cell phone. Any council discussion on this matter? All right, motion to suspend.
So moved.
Thank you.
I was just gonna ask, do we actually have funds to do this, or are we turning these over to the
That
land?
goes over to Lynn.
Goes over your head.
Goes over to
So
land?
they got a whole lot of money from,
Okay, just asking.
No money out of our.
We can debit and turn over to Lynn.
All right, just confirming.
Good question. Call the roll.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
You wait. Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Dumpy?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes,
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
motion to adopt.
I'll second that.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Dumpy?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes,
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
This is, we're going to 1422. It's a short one. So ordinance 1422, need someone to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce it.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing city manager Scott Frank to cancel the water tank maintenance contract with Utility Service Company Incorporated attached here to and pursuant to the contract's terms in section 7 and declaring an emergency. Whereas the city of Nelsonville entered into a water tank maintenance contract with the Utility Service Company Incorporated on May 31st, 2013. And whereas the city desires to terminate this contract hereto attached pursuant to its terms in section 7 by providing 90 days notice to Utility Service Company Incorporated. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Nelsonville, Athens County, Ohio as follows. That city manager Scott Frank shall have the authority to provide notice of termination to Utility Service Company Incorporated pursuant to the water tank maintenance contract attached in Exhibit A and pursuant to section 7 of that contract. This ordinance is being passed as an emergency measure pursuant to Article 4, Sections 4.09 through 4.11 as an emergency in the operation of the city government, and its ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its adoption. duly enacted by council on first reading under suspension of the rules the 14th day of February 2022.
Any council discussion on this matter?
Do we have, I assume we have another company to replace?
No,
Okay,
it was brought to my attention exactly what we were paying for.
okay.
And I was rather surprised for $29,000 that we weren't even getting a full days of one full day of maintenance out of these folks to come in and inspect our tank. So in every, I think 5 years, they were doing a quick overshot of paint on top of it. And we had a gentleman in here and he quoted the price of the whole paint job, which would last, I believe, 30 years. And it was, I have the numbers written down, but basically these service contracts, they're much like the auto industry.
Easy, easy. I just fix them, okay?
That's all they do.
So, so we,
Hey, gonna have parts.
oh,
Brother.
so anyway,
Where's your pothole go?
I'm trying to be very nice on camera, but we've been paying for something for a really long time.
That we haven't been getting.
And we have not really been getting much in return. And we have to give them 90 days notice, and May 31st. 90 days, we have to give them 90 days notice to when we signed originally, and we signed originally May 31st, 2013.
On one of those deals, we passed the deadline, then it's getting another year.
Yeah, and we just happened to look through it. So that was the guy that was here doing the TTHM equipment. And he told us about it. Most of these companies have died off because everybody caught on to them.
Okay,
But anyway,
all right.
Good
Any
catch.
more questions for Mr. Frank? Any more council discussion? All right, motion to suspend.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
another big.
All right, Susan, it must be big ordinance and resolution night. Resolution 2266, I need someone to introduce it, please. People excited there, aren't you, Dan?
The resolution removing Gregory Smith from the city of Nelsonville City Council. Whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council held the removal proceeding of Gregory Smith on February 1st, 2022. And whereas the subject of the removal proceedings was to consider evidence related to Gregory Smith's qualifications for the Nelsonville City Council, specifically whether he satisfied the residency requirements of the Nelsonville City Charter, section 4.02. And whereas a special prosecutor appeared in person to present evidence related to Mr. Smith's qualifications. And whereas Gregory Smith appeared in person with legal representation and was provided an opportunity to be heard and respond to the charges related to his qualifications. And whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council heard the testimony of charging party Corey Taylor, who was cross-examined by Gregory Smith's attorney. And whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council heard the testimony of 3 witnesses, 1 appearing in person, 2 appearing via telephone, as Gregory Smith consented to, who were each cross-examined by Gregory Smith's attorney. And whereas Gregory Smith declined the opportunity to testify, and whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council were presented with 19 exhibits from the charging party, and whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council were presented with 27 exhibits from Gregory Smith, whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council heard closing arguments from the special prosecutor, and whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council heard closing arguments from Gregory Smith's attorney, whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council deliberated the evidence presented during the proceeding, and whereas the city of Nelsonville City Council determine the evidence presented by the special prosecutor to be credible. And whereas each member of the City of Nelsonville City Council stated the reasoning for their votes. And whereas the City of Nelsonville City Council found Gregory Smith violated the residency requirements of his office, subjecting him to removal under the Nelsonville City Charter. And whereas the City of Nelsonville City Council unanimously voted to remove Gregory Smith from his office as councilman. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by the Nelsonville City Council that this resolution hereby constitutes its conclusion of fact regarding the February 1st, 2022 removal proceedings. The City of Nelsonville City Council hereby removes Gregory Smith from his office as council member. This resolution shall be in full force and effect upon its adoption, duly enacted by council on first reading the 14th day of February, 2022.
Any council discussion on this matter?
Motion to adopt.
I'll second that.
Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Clement,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Jones. I need to abstain since I was not in attendance.
Mr.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That is all of the legislation tonight. We're to the city manager's report. Mr. Frank, take it away.
All right, the EV install, the electric vehicle charger, is going well. I do believe the, charging stations will be in place later this week. The trenches have been dug. Hey, Jason, do you know if they poured concrete
Yeah,
yet?
I don't forget what concrete, they tended up, so I think I have to keep on.
Okay, great. So, we should have the,
Thanks, Jason.
pumps on up later this week. So I had a meeting with FEMA, last week. And tentatively, now this is a verbal, so, it's verbal. The trailer park, we won battle with, to be out of the floodway. And, so the battle was basically to get that line out of the back of the Rocky building. They didn't move the line for some reason or other. It shouldn't have any effect, so I'm told, but anyway, but the floodway should be going behind the trailer park. So that is a win.
Okay.
However, the maps aren't expected to be finalized until next year. There's still going to be a town hall meeting and another appeal period, and they gotta go through their whole process yet. But I did want to share that small win. We're in the process of putting together a grant application also from FEMA for stormwater pumps. It's a grant that we put forth twice since I've been here. We're gonna try it again. We're gonna modify it a little bit. Essentially what it'll look like is our main storm pump that's on Monroe Street. We want to just clean it up, add a platform for the guys to go down there and work off of. Also want to add a generator to that one that will be elevated. As we learned in this last power outage, if the water would have gotten up any higher, we would have been hurting in that situation. And then on the other two, we still want to add just the plugs to pull a portable generator in there. But for that one, I think a generator would be a good idea. Let's see. The guys have been fighting water leaks. We've had water leaks everywhere lately. Right now, we got a 4-inch up on Mound Street that the guys got to fix tomorrow morning. We got one over in Bookdole that the guys are going to change, I don't know, tomorrow night or the night after.
I gotta get with the school so we can set it up, because we're gonna have to shut water off. Yeah, we'll have to give an advance notice to let people know.
So there'll be a scheduled outage for Bookdale coming up soon after the school lets out sometime this week. And then we got one on Washington Street we're still chasing. And possibly Columbus, we don't know if we got it yet or not. Hopefully we can be able to nail that down. One of our big targets this year is to reduce water loss. So we've been working with different companies that come in and find leaks with their different equipment to listen. And so far they've been tracking down, but it's one of those, we don't have them come in too much because the more advanced they get ahead of us, it's one of those, when they find the leaks, we need to be able to get in behind them pretty quick to repair it. So we can't let them get too far out ahead of us. So right now we got our hands full to get caught up. And once we get caught up with everything, we'll have them come back in and start progressing forward. Also, I still have not had the meeting with the representative, Mr. Carey, from the governor's office for the Southeast District. He was out sick last week, and I'm waiting for his return call this week to see if we're able to meet this week, if not next week. Also, I'm still waiting on the quotes for the playground equipment for the grant that we had talked about for down there at Holly Field area next to the shelter house. So also I did get some quotes for sunshades at the pool this year, a big double sunshade instead of the umbrellas that we have down there. We can get a double sunshade for about $3,000 cheaper. That takes up the same amount, actually more real estate than the two umbrellas. So I think that might be a good direction to go in the future because changing out the material for the sunshade is significantly cheaper than the material for the umbrellas.
They'll still go in the same frame.
Yep. So we have that. I'm just waiting to see how much the other pool repairs are going to cost us before we start doing any repair or before we start ordering anything. With that said, Jason's got a bore scope picked out. So got an inch head on it. We're going to start fishing all the water lines we have at the pool, checking the shape or out of all of them, and see if we can find the cracked water lines and where they're at and what we're going to do to fix them. And that's all I got for tonight.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Frank?
Yeah, I have a question. We're keeping the pool rates the same as last year, is that correct?
That would be my proposal to you,
Okay.
council.
And do we need an ordinance stating that what the pool rates are for this year?
You're going to need a full on, you're going to need a
Staffing ordinance.
You're gonna need a
Yeah.
staffing ordinance, in a pool rate ordinance.
That'll come through Parks and Rec.
Yep. You'll need a full everything. You actually need a full city ordinance for all the employees.
And then once that goes through, then that'll go to finance and then back to ordinance.
This is it correctly.
Yeah, if you guys did the full staffing ordinance, the thing you guys worked on from the state audit last year was that nobody did the temporary authorization to hire a pool manager and pool employees, so we did it afterwards, according to the state auditor's suggestion. So you guys could just put that in the ordinance. You could just say, every season we will hire a pool manager and seasonal pool employees. Then you wouldn't have to do it every year.
Now, with that said, we've always done a contract on the athletic director. Shouldn't that be a part-time employee, a seasonal employee as well?
Definitely could, yeah. It'd be cleaner that way for sure.
So that should be on there.
Clean up the terminology on it.
Then you could directly supervise the position.
That's what we're gonna do. Jason can't even.
Somebody could.
Okay, anyone else? All right, well, to the good of the order, Mr. Clement, I'll start with you.
I'm good. I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Taylor?
Nothing.
Ms. Jim?
I guess I'll give a shout out to, our guys for taking care of all the snow and ice the last couple of weeks. We really got slammed. And once again, they have done a great job getting our streets cleared off and making sure that we can get out and about and to work when we need to. Thanks, Jason.
I'll pretty much echo Mrs. Jones' comments and remarks. Great job to the city workers for keeping our streets clean. That ice was something else, but you guys did a great job, so we really appreciate it. You just quit plowing people's driveways and it'd be great. Anyway, I'm just teasing. That's all I have. Mr. Sherman.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there in Nelsonville. It's easier to love than to hate. And I'd like to thank Leslie for coming. I can't wait to do the walk with the boys here.
Who's walking?
I'm not running. You don't wanna get this in motion.
Streets can't handle it.
Right.
Yeah, work streets.
So, thank you for that, and, I'll definitely be in touch with the sponsorship.
All right. Mr. Booth,
I just want to echo everyone else's thoughts. Appreciate everything that our city folks have done for us during this tough winter season. Definitely appreciate it. Appreciate you coming tonight, Leslie. Definitely, I think this is a good event for Nelsonville. Really honoring Jeff and everyone else who's sacrificed for all of us.
Yeah, we can do it every year.
Definitely. So, that's all I've got.
okay. All right, motion to go into executive session, ORC 121-22. G for personnel and legal matters. Just city council.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Jones? Yes. Duffy?